Welcome to Better HR in 10 Minutes, where we take an HR question and discuss it in 10 minutes or less from the perspective of an employment law attorney and an EEO trainer. I'm the employment lawyer. I'm Sarah Glasser, and I'm a shareholder at Lloyd Gosling, Rochelle and Townsend in Austin, Texas, where I head up my firm's employment law practice group.
And I'm the trainer. I'm Rodney Klein. I have over 30 years experience working with the U.S. Equal Employment Opportunity Commission and as owner of my own training firm.
So keep in mind that the things that Rodney and I talk about on this video series is general information and is not intended to be legal advice. There is absolutely no substitute for an attorney who you have hired to represent you. So today, Rodney and I wanted to talk about what you do when things maybe haven't gone exactly like they were supposed to. In other words, what is the best way to clean up a mess? And just so you know, Rodney and I have not talked about what we're going to say in advance, but we have some suspicion that we might feel differently about this, given our different backgrounds. So, Rodney, I'm going to put you in the hot seat and let you go first, and then I'll tell you what I think. But so if you've got someone who's working for an organization and they have potentially done something that is illegal or has caused some kind of problem, how can that organization from that point forward, once they learn about it, what can they do to clean it up?
Yeah, I think this is a really fun one because we are going to disagree about this because you're going to look at this from the perspective of an attorney, and you should. But I'm looking at this from a perspective of a trainer. And so our idea of what a mess is and how to clean it up are going to be two different things. My idea of the mess is you have a problem. What's the best and first way to fix the problem is just hold the person accountable. Right. That's how we teach our people, is what we hold them accountable by is what's important to us. If we don't hold them accountable, we're also teaching them that this is not all that important to us. So if we want to make cultural decisions within our own workplace and define our own culture, it starts with setting the bar for behavior and actually meaning it. And I think that's the first thing to keep in mind is to hold that individual accountable. What about you?
Okay, so for the record, yeah, I don't know. For the record, we're not that far off. So I, as your attorney, right? You're the theoretical you, or the hypothetical you. If you call me and you say, Sarah, look, we just messed something up. I'm going to say, okay, well, let's figure out what happened. And kind of get our bearings and see what the implication is. Let's look at the risk. What potential damages or fines or liability stems from what happened, and so how do we fix it on the back end? And to me, fixing it on the back end is there's a holistic approach to that. If another employee was harmed, what does it take to make them whole, and what does make them whole mean? So it's a whole conversation.
You're impressing yourself right in the middle of your discussion.
I'm so punny. So we look back, but then we also look forward, and that goes to what you're talking about, which is just hold them accountable and look at making sure, if we're talking about harassment law, making sure it never happens again, appropriate remedial action. If we're talking about wage and hour issues, how do we make sure that we don't have these violations again? And one of the reasons, from your attorney's perspective, this is so important is because a lot of times when you're talking about agency action, like a DOL auditor coming in, for example, and the EEOC as well, I imagine to some extent, is when you have multiple instances of the same violation, that's when things start to get really problematic and you start to lose your good faith defense. And so that's one of the things that's really important to me when you call me about something you've messed up on is let's fix it so that we can say, as soon as we learned about it, we tried to fix it.
Right. One of the things I think is almost always a problem with this is that my experience is that the further away from the incident the management official is, the less likely they are to do anything about it. Why? Because if they do something about it, they take responsibility for us and they're willing to take on the fuss that creates. And most managers don't want to do that. So they think to themselves, well, okay, what fuss is this going to cause me if I take this on? And what fuss is this causing me now? Well, it's not causing me any fuss now. So I'll just pat people on the heads, tell them to all get along, and then that'll cure it. And I'm a really cool boss. But what they don't get is that they just threw all their employees who brought their values to work under the bus. And so that not holding that individual accountable is setting the bar for behavior.
So it's so interesting to me. I know we're kind of running up on our 10 minutes, but it's so interesting to me how you're approaching this from a values perspective, and I'm approaching it from a legal compliance and defense perspective, but we're really kind of ending up in the same place, and I think that's great.
Well, who knew, right?
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, I think that's all we have for today. Thanks for tuning in, and we hope you found this helpful.